to the Seattle Sports Show. I'm your host, Mikey. First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody who has already found the show and checked it out. We've only released a trailer so far, but I got a notification that so many people have already listened, and that is great news. I knew that the Seattle sports fan base was strong out there, and it always excites me whenever I start something new. There might be some of you out there who have listened to some of my other podcasts, the Daily Fortnite podcast, the I've done the Dark Crystal podcast. I'm doing the Last of Us talk show. I had to take a little break from that for a little bit, but we're about to get back into that. So, or somehow maybe you're just a Seattle sports fan, and you were randomly searching for a new sports show to listen to, and that's how you found this show. However you found the show, I got to thank you so much for finding the show through the podcast, and I'm going to be uploading these up on YouTube as well. I've never been a big YouTuber, but I've been trying to upload more of my things onto YouTube so people can get them that way as well. So if you like YouTube, you can subscribe to me there as well. And the channel for the YouTube is More Mikey, More, and then Mikey, I spell it with 3 M's, MMMIKIE. So thank you again so much for finding the show. A little bit about me. Grew up, raised in the Pacific Northwest, been a fan of the Seattle sports teams all my life. Grew up in Oregon, but have family in Seattle and all throughout Washington. So would always grow up watching the Seattle teams. My great grandmother, when she was alive, she kind of, some of her kids were in Washington, some of her kids were in Oregon, and so she would kind of go back and forth. And my grandmother was in Oregon. I grew up right next door to my grandmother and my great grandma. Like I said, she would go back and forth between her kids all the time, visiting them and staying with them for months and months at a time, just so she could see her children, her grandchildren, her great grandchildren, and so that's kind of one of the things that got me. She was one of the first people that I remember enjoying sports with. It was my great grandmother and her being into the Seattle teams and watching the professional Seattle teams with her growing up. So just been a fan ever since I was a little child. Still a fan to this day. And if you're a Seattle sports fan, then all the ups and downs that comes with. Lots of great highs and lots of lows. But when you're a fan for life, and you don't give up on your teams. Even when they're bad, you're still a fan. You stick it through those years, because when you get to the good years, it just makes it that much more worth it. All right, that's a little bit about my fandom. Let's talk a little bit about the show itself and how that is going to go. So for the Seattle Sports Show here, the way we're going to do this show from week to week, this will be a weekly show. We're going to start off the show with a lead topic, whatever the biggest thing is that we think we want to talk about that week, from whatever team that it's from that we're following. Of course, we're going to be following all our favorite Seattle professional sports teams: the Seahawks, the Mariners, the Kraken, the Storm, the Sounders, the Reign, and the Sea Dragons. Okay, so we're going to cover all those teams. We'll take like one headline topic every week that we will talk about right from the beginning. Okay, and then we'll go through each team one by one and give you an update on where they are. Because as a sports fan of Seattle teams, one of the things that can be so annoying is just your favorite teams not getting the coverage you feel they deserve, right? So we want to give everybody coverage on this show. You know, even local radio here in Seattle, they're not covering every teams. Like rarely hear um, the Storm, Sounders, the Rain, the Sea Dragons get talked about, even on local radio. And we don't want to skip over all of our favorite teams, so we're going to make sure that we talk about them. I got to say that I'm not the most knowledgeable fan when it comes to soccer at all, but I do watch the games here and there. I'm not able to catch every game, but I watch them, and I don't always know and understand exactly what's going on. But I'm excited to watch when I watch. So we're going to give you those updates, and I feel like doing this show is going to get me into it even more and help me build my knowledge. Because also another one that's kind of been lacking in my life is hockey. When I was a kid in the 90s, hockey was still pretty big, right? And then just over the years, it's gone down and down. And then, you know, growing up in Oregon and Washington, we didn't have a hockey team, right? So as I got older and hockey got even less and less popular, I kind of fell away from it. But then ever since the Kraken came back, or not came back, since the Kraken came here, I've been watching the games because you get a new professional sports team, you want to follow, you want to feel like you're in right from the beginning. So I've been watching, and I'm not going to say I'm a hockey expert or anything, but I feel like I'm learning the game, and that's really fun. So that's the kind of perspective you're going to get from me from those sports, from soccer and hockey. It's kind of be like just somebody who's a fan who's watching the games, and we'll give you the updates. I know a little bit more about basketball, baseball, and football. So we'll go. We might do. I might try to give like a little deeper thoughts on what I think is happening when we talk about those sports. But we'll definitely talk the news and cover the news. That's the biggest thing I feel like is we like at least got to give every team the respect of being talked about and knowing what's going on, because a lot of our teams in Seattle do really well. And even when the teams are doing really well, you don't hear them talked about on, on the national sports media. You still don't get them talked about very much. And then on again, like I said, on local radio, some of the teams don't get talked about even much. Even in years when they're doing really good or even winning championships, they might like kind of make a note on one of the radio shows and be like, "Oh, hey, by the way, this team won a championship. Isn't that cool?" Like we want to give them more respect than that. I mean, when they're winning a championship for a city, or they're just doing good from year to year, we want to show that respect. So that's what we're going to do on this show. Okay, so now that you know a little bit more about the show, let's go ahead and kind of get into the first episode here. Like I said, we're going to start every show off with a lead topic. So let's go ahead and talk our lead topic this week, which is Sue Bird. My goodness, what a career she had, right? Retired at the end of the season last season, and actually the day I'm recording this is the day after they retired her number 10 and hung it in the rafters over there at Climate Pledge Arena. And you just have to check out that that footage of her speech, of the celebration. It's amazing. Again, because to me, Sue Bird, being this is biased because again, we're Seattle fans. I think Sue Bird is the greatest WNBA player of all time. Okay, 4 championships. Yeah, count them. 4 championships that she brought to this city. All 4 championships that the Seattle Storm won. Sue Bird was a part of them, and she's had great teammates throughout her career, but she was a part of not all of her teammates were a part of all four of the uh of the championships. So basically, she did it with like three different squads throughout her career. She was able to win four championships. That is quite amazing. So this is somebody you have to give respect to. I mean, she's the all-time uh, leader in assists in the WNBA. She averaged 11.7 points per game throughout her career, 2.5 rebounds per game, 5.6 assists per game. 19 years in the game. Uh, I mean, what else can you say? Four-time, like you said, WNBA champion 2004, 2010, 2018, 2020. She's the all-time WNBA assist leader. She's all-time WNBA leader in career starts. She never ever came off the bench in her 19-year career. 19 years, always a starter. She broke the all-time career game started back in 2017. She's the winningest player of all time in the WNBA. 333 games won. So just the accolades uh, uh, don't stop with her. Um, let's see here. What else? 13-time WNBA All Star, 5-time All WNBA First Team, 3-time All WNBA Second Team. 3 times she was the regular season assist leader, 5-time Olympic gold medalist. So again, not even just doing it in Seattle here, but doing it for Team USA. 4-time FIBA World Championship gold medalist. 3-time WNBA Kim Parrott Sportsmanship Award. 2-time NCAA champion at UConn. Just again, so many accolades. It seems like they're never ending. I mean, what can we say? I mean, we know that she was a great teammate. She again, if you go watch her speech for the number retirement, you're going to hear how much she came to grow to love this city again, because she was not from here. She talked about it. She was from the East Coast, and then having to come all the way out to Seattle, that was like scary to her at first, and just like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna end up going there. Like, what's that gonna be like? But as she said in her speech, it became home, and fans like us made it home to her. So again, congratulations to Sue Bird. To me, greatest WNBA player of all time. All right, so there you go. There's our lead topic. That's how we're going to do that, and then we are going to transition into doing our team by team news. This first episode here, because it is the first episode. Instead of just doing, we're not going to really be focusing on news this week. This week, we're just kind of give you of where we're at with all these teams. And so, first up, let's get to the Seahawks. All right, the Seattle Seahawks. My goodness, what a 2022-23 season they had. They went 9-8, lost in the wild card round. They Geno Smith played way better than anybody expected. Okay, I know before the season started last year, people were expecting this team to be horrible. I saw experts predicting anywhere from 3 to 5 wins was like the most. 5 wins was the most, and I looked at the talent on this team and said, no way, this team is at least an 8-win team with just the talent around. I mean, a quarterback would have to come in here and be like, uh, you know, I mean, as long as you're a serviceable quarterback, this team should go and get 8 wins. You'd have to be like a quarterback that is actively hurting your team to win less than 8 games with the roster that we had last year. They went above that. They won 9 games, got into the wild card round. They lost in that wild card round, and we saw their weaknesses really shine through in that game. We saw it throughout the season, kind of sporadically, but man, they sure were weak on defense. When they were bad, they were really bad. Okay, you could see them shine in some games throughout the season, and then in some games they were just flat out horrible, especially against the run. But hopefully, they're addressing that this year with the free agent signings that they made and some of the draft as well. So let's kind of talk about where we are. They had some big free agent signings this offseason to get ready for the 2023 season. The biggest one being a defensive tackle, defensive end. He's kind of plays both. Draymond Jones. Okay, he was like the one of the highest ranked free agents on the market this year. They go out, get him at a 3-year deal, 18 million a year, and I think that's going to be a big addition to our defense. We went out and we brought back Jaron Reed, who we've seen is really good in the system that we run here in Seattle. So that will be a big plus. And then, of course, they went out and got Bobby Wagner back. That is going to be huge. Somebody who obviously already knows the system that we're running here in Seattle. He's back. He's been a captain of the team. He can bark out the orders, and he can. We've seen now that we've seen him, play with the Rams. We saw what he could do with that team as well. If they want to deploy him the same way the Rams used him, we could see that he can be aggressive. He can get after the quarterback as well. And, he's still playing with a ton of energy, even this far into his career. We went out and got the safety, Julian Love. From what I've seen out of his play, I really like it. And with Jamal Adams, we don't know exactly where he's going to be health wise. I feel like that was a really good pickup as well. We got linebacker Devin Bush. Didn't quite live up to his draft expectations over there in Pittsburgh, but I think Seattle's going to be a good starting over point for him, and the system that we run here in Seattle right now, I think is going to be really good for Devin Bush, and hopefully, again he did deal with injury over there in Pittsburgh, but now that he's here, hopefully he's all healthy and ready to go, and can live up to his draft expectations. We picked up center Evan Brown, who, that's good because we were lacking at the interior of our line, right? So we went out and signed an interior lineman. I don't know if he's going to be a starter because we're going to talk about the draft in just a second. But glad to know that he's on the team and would have been an improvement over what we had last year already anyways, but I think at this point he should be good depth. And then of course we got to talk about re-signing Geno Smith. What a good deal. He played so well last year. If we even get him just play anywhere near that level that he played last year, this team is going to be in the playoffs again. I don't expect him to be as good as he was last year. Last year was an amazing year, again, setting records for the team. So I don't expect him to be setting team records again, but Glad that he's back, and the deal that we got him at for a quarterback, what a great deal for him because he's making more money in his career than he's ever made. But it was also a great deal for the team, allowing them to make some of these signings that they signed out in free agency and still have money to be able to sign our draftees. And let's go ahead and talk about the people that we drafted this year. Number 5 pick, cornerback Devin Witherspoon. Okay, I would have been really excited if they took Jalen Carter. They didn't. That tells me, yeah, that they talked to him because we know that they talked to him. And, in those interviews, what they saw in the workouts, they must have not liked what they saw for whatever reason. They decided to go another direction and they went out and got the best talent they could on the board that was left available to them at the number 5 pick, Devin Witherspoon. Really excited to see him. Pete Carroll saying, this is the most talented cornerback that they've ever drafted, which is saying a lot because they've drafted a lot of them, right? Coming out of college. But they would tend to wait farther back and develop them really well, and they would turn into really good corners. So I'm excited to see what Pete Carroll is able to do with the first cornerback taken off the board, a number 5 pick corner, and what they're able to turn him into. We've seen that, if you go watch his college highlights, great ball skills, really aggressive in the run game and getting in there and making tackles. So that's going to help this team out as well. Just a lot to like about Devin Witherspoon. At number 20, we took wide receiver Jackson Smith and Jigba, and my goodness, this guy looks amazing. Watch his college highlights, and he's getting open. That's something that I look for, is a player that's getting open. In college, you can watch the level of play is just, it varies widely, but you can tell the difference of a player who is just so open because the other team is lacking talent, and a player who gets open because they are just fast, crisp route runners, know where they need to be, and have that football IQ to be where they need to be when they need to be there. That's Jackson Smith and Jigba. That's why, when you watch his college games, you're not going to find very many games where he's covered. You're going to always see him open. And I'm really excited what he's going to bring to the Seahawks and how that's going to help DK Metcalf be more open. That's going to help Tyler Lockett be more open. That's going to help Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet have more running lanes to go up, because the defenses are going to have to respect what Smith and Jigba can do, and they can't just leave him wide open. So excited what he's going to bring to the team. Number 37, we got linebacker Derek Hall. We've been seeing some of the mini camps and OTAs. I'm liking what I see out of him so far in the videos that I've seen. Don't know a lot about him myself, but again, go watch the highlight reels, and it looks good, of course, because they're highlight reels. This is one of the picks that I am most interested in seeing how he turns out for the team, because in the number 37 pick, that's a high pick, and we know that there was other teams that were thinking about drafting him in the first round. One of the teams being the Kansas City Chiefs, right, who just won the Super Bowl. So they were thinking very highly of him as well. Now, this is, it's going to be huge. This is the huge one to me where, at this point, we didn't draft any defensive linemen, and they're thinking this linebacker can come in and be helped, because our linebacker play was really down last year as well. So if he can come in and make a difference right away at that level, if we're getting running backs getting past the first level, you definitely don't want to get him past the second level. These guys need to be able to come in there and clean up. Obviously, Bobby Wagner's back, so I think that's going to help, and we'll see how well Derek Hall is able to help out with that. I know he's super fast for the position, so hopefully he's going to be able to track down those runners, before they bust out those big yards against us like they were last year. Number 52 pick, Zach Charbonnet, the running back. This is what I saw a lot of fans being upset about because we just took a running back in the second round last year. Here we are, second round, taking a running back again this year. And you know what? I love it. I'm one of the fans who love this. Zach Charbonnet, the Terminator. Okay, when you get a chance to draft a player called the Terminator, you draft him, especially at this point in the draft. Yeah, we have Kenneth Walker, but guess what? This is the NFL. In today's NFL, you can't just have one running back. You need multiple. One can go down. You need the next one to come in. Zach Charbonnet is that type of guy. If you need him to be an every down back, he could be an every down back. And if Kenneth Walker went down, Zach Charbonnet would be able to fill that role. From what I've seen of him, he's got great vision, great speed, can pass block, he can run routes and catch really well. Really good in short yardage situations. So I think he's going to help this team a lot because our runs were not so good in short yardage situations last year. So that's going to help. Guard. Next pick was 108, Anthony Bradford. Like I said, we needed those interior linemen. There you go. We got another one. I think this is another guy that's going to be competing for a spot to start at guard. Okay, defensive tackle Cameron Young picked number 123. I'm liking what I see out of this guy so far. This is the reason why I'm not upset that we didn't. Okay, so obviously we didn't take Jalen Carter at number 5. Okay, the clear cut defensive tackle that should have been drafted this year. Okay, we could have taken Will Anderson if he fell to us, but he didn't. That would have been another pick on defensive line that I would have been very happy with. I didn't really want. Well, that's how much I didn't even want the other guy that went in the top 10. I can't even think of his name at the moment. But yeah, if it wasn't Will Anderson or Jalen Carter, I didn't want us taking somebody in the first round, second round, maybe even the third round, and we didn't. We waited till the fourth round, right, where we got Cameron Young here, and because the value of the defensive tackles that were in the draft this year, you could get a guy fourth, fifth, sixth round who is going to have a similar grade value as guys that were drafted at the end of the first round, during the second round. So go out and get those highly skilled, talented players that you have rated high, that other teams have rated high. Again, last year, their draft worked out for them so well because they drafted for talent. This year, I feel like it's going to be the same thing. They were drafting for talent. You got Witherspoon, you got Njigba. Were they the most needed positions on your team? No, but they are really going to add talent and depth to your team. Charbonnet, was it super needy for running back? No, but again, you could get one of the best running backs in the draft this year in the second round while still getting a great defensive tackle all the way down there in the fourth round. In fact, he's been playing so well. I don't know if you've been watching mini camps and OTAs, Cameron Young, he started out on the bottom just like anybody else, but guess what? He's already worked his way into snaps with the first team. This guy put on 20 pounds before the draft to show the Seahawks that he could play interior and be a permanent guy on the interior for the defensive line, because in college he would play both defensive tackle and defensive end. They want him to solely play defensive tackle at the NFL level because his when we're talking about values, the way they Cameron Young was graded, he was just kind of an average amongst defensive ends, right? But if you graded him as just a defensive tackle with the measurables that he was putting up, like he was like one of the top defensive tackles from this year. So, so far, everybody's been really impressed. Again, to the point where he's already taking steps with the first team. So, it's looking like a good decision at this point. We'll see what it actually looks like when the season starts, with him on the field, and if they did make the right choice for real. But so far it seems like things are going good. At pick 151, they took defensive end Mike Morris, again, hopefully giving us more depth. Pick number 154, center Oluwatimi. I'm just gonna say the last name because I know how to say the last name for sure. Oluwatimi. Again, Seahawks is just knowing where they could get players this year. Again, allowing themselves to take high ceiling players at the beginning of the draft and still get great solid players in the middle and the end of the draft. Oluwatimi, best center in the draft. He was voted as the best offensive lineman in college last year. So, how in the world do you get the best offensive lineman in college all the way in the 5th round? Well, the Seahawks were able to do it. Again, they were smart about the draft, knowing where players were going to be, what other teams were wanting, when they were able to get certain players for both high skill level and for needs of this team. So, again, drafted a great need. And again, here's another guy drafted all the way in the 5th round, but has a lot of great praise coming in, and accolades and awards coming in out of college. And guess what? Here's a guy looking like he's going to fit in with the starters, taking snaps in OTAs. So it's looking again like they made the right decision there and at the right time. Safety Jarek Reed. Here's another guy that I've been hearing a lot of great things about. He's getting a lot of praise out of the mini camps and OTAs as well. And again, I don't know if that's just the coaches like talking him up so much, because we really need Jamal Adams to come here and play this year and show us something and stay healthy. But everybody seems to really like this guy, and if anything, he'll definitely provide some depth on this team, which we might need with the injury history that we've had at the position right now. Pick number 237, running back Kenny McIntosh. This is another pick I like. This is another guy, again, because it's the current NFL. You got to have multiple running backs. Some of the running back, they're smarter about how they, use the running backs nowadays by not running them into the ground and wearing them out by the end of the season. I expect K9 to be our main running back, but Charbonnet is going to come in and help short yardage situations. McIntosh, he's going to come in and help 3rd and longs, passing downs, passing plays, all that kind of stuff. Super fast, really good hands. I think he's going to help out with that a lot. Special teams, perhaps as well. Even Charbonnet might be special teams. Just hearing about how much he helped in special teams in college. Sounds like he's a really good. Both of these players are really good special teams players. So we've seen the Seahawks, use multiple running backs. They don't go through the year with just one guy getting all the touches. You do see last year itself. We had um, like 4 guys end up getting touches throughout the year. So uh, again, for the depth and what each player is unique at with their skill set, I think they did a really good job of drafting a variety of running backs for this team for different situations. And since we're talking about where we're at with the team, let's go ahead and talk about what we think this team is going to do this year. Okay, I think this team is going to be really good. I think they improved over last year. Okay, I thought, like I said, I thought they were 8-team win last year. They won 9. I think this team really improved, and some of the competition around us in our own division has done quite the opposite. So I think we're going to be even better this year, based on the talent that we signed, and the our own division seeming a little bit weaker this year. Last year 9-8. This year, I believe they improved the defense enough to be even better. I believe the draft went well enough for them to be even better, helping both the defense and the offense, and going to make our offense even more dynamic. Again, this is a Seattle fan sports show. Okay, we're not when we see a good team, we're not gonna be wishy washy on them. Okay, I'm going for 12 wins. Okay, that is what my heart is telling me. The heart says 12 wins. I'm predicting 12 wins for this team. That's what we're going for. Okay, that's the fan in me. That's the fan in me. Okay, that's the heart. The head says 10 wins. Okay, I'll admit the head says 10 wins. It's going to be the NFL is hard. We're going to have some hard competition this year. Maybe it's only 10, but if you ask me on the street, if you question me, how many games do I think this team is going to win? I'm going to tell you, well, I'm a fan of this team, and I see a good team. They're winning 12 games this year. Let's go, Seahawks. All right, that's the Seahawks. Let's get to our next team here. All right, this is your Seattle Mariners. 2022 was a great year for them as well. Again, right? A team. This team was looking like a team on a rise, but nobody knew quite how good they were going to be. Maybe 84, 85 games. Be a little bit above 500. No, they came in here last year, ended with a record of 90-72, getting into the playoffs. Winning in the playoffs, making it all the way to the AL Division Series, which they lost to the Houston Astros. Ugh. This. What an exciting season that was. Still cannot get that. That Cal Raleigh home run to get us into the playoffs is like burned in my memory. I'll never forget that. That was awesome to see after such a long drought. Right? Again, if you're a Seattle sports fan, then some high highs and some low lows, and it's been a lot of low lows for many years with the Mariners until last year, and then this year, oh my goodness, you would think we are at a low low. With some of the way you see fans online reacting, because we're coming into this year with expectations, right? A lot of big expectations. Some people thinking that this was a potential World Series team. Again, because Seattle fan, I'm one of them. I was thinking, man, this team is a World Series team. We are close. We are close to getting to the World Series. And then so far, it's been back and forth. back and forth. I mean, we're sitting at a record right now of 32 and 33. We're 9 games back in the division. Um, shoot, I should have looked how far uh, back we are uh, again in the whatchamacallit, in the wild card. I know we were like 5 games back in the wild card a couple of days ago. It might have changed since then. We might only be like, we might still be 5, or it could be 4. We just won today, so I don't have it right in front of me. But either way, it's not that far off, right? This team is still, at this point, doing better than they did last year, record wise. So I think this team still has a chance. But, we've had a slow start from Julio Rodriguez. Um, Eugenio Suarez, Cal Raleigh, uh, uh, you know, just Teoscar Hernandez, Colton Wong. Oh my gosh, these guys have been like historically bad. I mean, Colton Wong was, coming in here looking. We were thinking like, oh, this will be a nice upgrade for the team, and he's getting close to like setting like not like all time Mariners bad, like all time baseball ever bad numbers. Uh, for average OPS, like it's not good. It has not been good. If we can get these guys to just like get close to their average, this team would be looking good because we've seen it. And when this team is on, it can be really fun to watch. Jared Kelenic has been hot this year, and if you know, just imagine having Julio Kelenic on at the same time for a sustained amount of time. Oh my goodness, just that alone would be really exciting. But then if we had our other players that are supposed to be contributing to this team, like a Teoscar Hernandez, JP Crawford's actually been good as well. Eugenio Suarez, like if we got them all going at the same time, oh my goodness, please, this team still has a chance. Our pitching has mostly been phenomenal all year long, but there's been a few games here and there where some of our young pitchers, because we have a lot of young pitchers, have gotten really roughed up. But that's the key to this team is the pitching, and then if we can just get the offense going just a little bit, I think we're going to be good because a lot of games where we score 2-3 runs, that's going to be more than enough to win with the pitching staff that we have. We just have to get more than one of these guys going at the same time for a sustained amount of time. There might be a game or two where we see like 2 or 3 players all get hot at the same time, but then just one stays hot, the other ones fall back off. We need them to stay hot together for a sustained amount of time so that they can. I don't expect them to go on a 14-game winning streak like they did last year, but we need to get some streaks here and there. We need to be winning some more series here and there. So hopefully they can get that done. The All-Star game is coming up here. On July 11th here in Seattle, so that's going to be really fun. And we're definitely going to see Julio there. He's the biggest name on the team. Julio's going to be in that game because again, it's Major League Baseball. Every team gets one player to be represented. Julio is going to be in. He's the biggest name on the team. He's again not so far this year play as good as he did last year, but he's been warming up lately, and it's still been a decent year. And he's been warming up, hitting some more home runs lately. So having a lot of more, getting a lot more multiple hit games lately. So he's coming around. We'll see him in the All-Star game. All-Star voting is going on right now. If I'm hoping all the Seattle fans are listening to this and listen to me when I say go vote Jared Kelenic in if you can. We know it's going to be Julio. We know it's going to be Mike Trout. We know it's going to be Aaron Judge. Those guys are going to be in uh, the All Star game, right? Jared Kelenic deserves to be there as well. Get him in. He's been playing really good this year. His bat has finally come around. Last year was bad, right? But this year, it's been really, really good. Way, at this point, I wasn't expecting a lot because it just hasn't looked good at this level. But this year, it has come on, and the defense, my goodness, this guy is putting himself on the line all the time, diving, running into walls, diving and sliding into the walls. He's just been ridiculous out there. If you can get Jared Kelenic into the into the All Star game, you should. You know who else you should get into the All Star game? If you can, get in there and vote every day. You can vote 5 times a day. Get JP Crawford in there. He's been again one of the highlights of the team this year. He's somebody who's been consistent so far for the team throughout the year. Somebody, who I don't think going into the season, he's definitely not the biggest name of the team, and I don't know how much people were thinking about him or expecting him to do well, but he's been doing really good defensively and offensively, just putting together good at bats on this team as well. Hopefully, the rest of the team have been watching his at bats and have been taking notes and can, learn from him and learn from his example and get some more better at bats, because that's one of the things that this year's been tough to watch, right? Again, we're sitting at about 500, so it's not a horrible, but the at bats have been horrible to watch because sometimes they are swinging at pitches like sometimes it looks like they're a foot out of the zone. They're just like whiffing, swinging at things 6 inches below the strike zone, stuff way outside, stuff like way high. It just looks sometimes it looks like they don't know what they're swinging at out there. But JP in general, he usually looks like he knows what he's doing out there at the plate, like he knows that what the plan is and that he's going to stick to the plan. So again, hopefully the rest of the team is going to take note of that and get us all back on track here. Okay, so there's 3 guys on the offense that you should be looking at voting in my opinion. Now, who should you vote in as well as pitchers? Every single one of the pitchers that we have on this team. Okay, when you're when you're filling out your all-star ballot and you get to the pitcher section, make sure every pitcher is a Mariners, because my goodness, they have all been doing great this year. Castillo is back; he's been doing great. I'm liking Bryce Miller. I mean, I love the whole look, mustache, mullet. Oh man, rookie. What's not to love about Bryce Miller, right? Logan Gilbert. Again, yeah. There's been a couple games where the pitching just like absolutely fell apart. But again, go look at these guys' stats, and you're going to see that they're still towards the top of the league, even after like really bad games like that. Again, when we were going against New York and Texas, they were scoring like 10 runs a game on us in those games, which looked really bad. But because the rest of the time they've been so good, they're still like near the top of the league, like basically all of our pitchers. So get them in, go vote them in. And you know what? That's what I have to say about the Mariners. I'm one of these fans who believes in this team and believes that they still have a shot to get into the playoffs. And if they get into the playoffs, I still think they have a shot at the World Series, because the way this team is built is for the playoffs. Strong pitching and you know, bats that can do damage in the home run department. So, I'd love to see him in the playoffs again this year. Hopefully they get there, and we'll see about that World Series as long as they take care of getting into the playoffs first. All right, let's get into our next team, the Kraken. Okay, the Seattle Kraken. All right, like I said, the game of hockey. This is still a game that I am learning, but I am having so much fun learning it. Yeah, that first season with the Kraken. Okay, that was rough, but last year, this season that just ended, my goodness, so much better. Right, um, we made a much deeper run into the playoffs than anybody thought we were going to make. Um, our goaltender, Grubauer, man, he was amazing in the playoffs. He was just like nothing was getting by him, right? That was so much fun to watch. Um, Watching Matty Beniers all year this year, seeing that we have a promising young star on this team, along with all the veterans you have on this team, like I'm liking what we have. Okay, we just a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was a week ago now. Anyways, they extended Ron Francis through the 2026-27 season. That's really great for this team. Obviously, he knows what he's doing as management, like building this team. So glad to see him get extended and be through here and help build this team going forward for the next 4 years. We have, our record this year was 46-28. What I noticed throughout the season, again, not being a hockey expert at all, is that this team just seemed to be missing like a serious threat of an offensive star. It's like somebody who I don't feel like we have a go-to guy who is like everybody knows, like, yes, this is the guy that is going to score for this team. Multiple goals a night, or like somebody who, when we do have a power play, that we are going to, that we have the strong enough offensive player that when we have the power play, that guy is going to be the guy that gets us the goal. So, where the season just ended, so we're getting ready to start free agency and look at what we're going to get next year, and that's what we're going to talk about on this show. We're going to be watching this team and see what improvements that they make throughout this off season, so that hopefully we can do even better next year. I mean, I would love to be look at the Las Vegas Knights over there, right? I'd love to be the expansion hockey team that again, that first year for us was really rough, but second year is looking good, looking better, and I'd love to keep growing this thing. If we can win the Stanley Cup within the first 5 years of this franchise, like imagine how exciting that would be, and just how much that would bring even more fandom into this team, and make sure that it has a strong fan base for many years to come. All right, that's what we have on the Kraken. That's where we're at with the Kraken. Let's get into our next team, which is the Storm. All right, there we go. That was louder than expected. Okay, the Seattle Storm. All right, 2022, where they left off, was 22-14. Okay, again, this was last year, was Sue Bird's last year. We lost in the semifinals to Las Vegas Aces. Super emotional right after the game for Sue Storm. To say that she was hanging them up, and it's just been rough since then, right? We knew we were losing Sue Bird because she was retiring, so you're losing the best player in WNBA history. So that's already going to be a big void to fill. Then Breanna Stewart She takes her talents to New York now with the New York Liberty, and yep, she's looking like she is currently still the best player in the WNBA right now. Right? I've watched, uh, I watched the game that the Storm played against Liberty, and yeah, she looked great. And then I've watched, I think, two other games with the New York Liberty, like against other opponents, and Brianna Stewart is just looking amazing over there. Obviously, they got a super team over there in New York, and they are off to a hot start. Exactly the opposite of the Storm. Again, we still have Jewel Lloyd on this team, so that is good. Jewel Lloyd is great. She's leading the at WNBA in scoring um, right now, so we know we still got that star player, but she loses two other stars around her. Two of them, you know, again, we're talking about the best of all time, and like potentially the best player right in the WNBA right now. Uh, losing one player is hard enough. Losing two players like that on your team, it's really hard to overcome. Okay, uh, again, Jewel doing her best. We have some young rookies on this team, um, so hopefully that is going to be good and bright for the future. I really like what I see out of Horston. She's been looking like, she's still adjusting to the pro game, but she's looking good. Like I like what I see out of her. Melbourne is fun to watch as well. But this team as a whole right now, they're just lacking the defense right now. They're not stopping anybody on defense. When I watch this team uh, playing this year, and the record, by the way, yeah, it's not good. They're 1-6 right now. Of course, that puts you in last place in the division. 6 games back. We still have what 33 games left to go in the season, so maybe they get on some sort of hot streak and, and try to claw their way back into this after a season where they go to the playoffs. It's not looking good though. I don't have a lot of hopes for this team at this point. Again, young and just a team that looks like lost out there on defense right now. Like when I watch the team, like none of them seem to. It's not that none of them. They just look like they're having a hard time rotating on defense right now. Like they're running a defense where everybody's rotating, and it's super important that everybody rotates to where they need to rotate on time and not leave anybody open. Right now, they always look slow to rotate, which leaves an opposing player open, and uh, they are just able to take advantage of that by knocking down threes, and or because there's the rotations are happening late, then you see those players able to cut into the lane and and get easy layups. I mean, the defense has not been looking good. It's been looking really bad. In fact, I mean, we know they can have offense. We've seen the game where they were. I mean, the game that they won, the one game that they won, I believe they were down at one point by 21 points. They came back and won that game. We've seen them down by 17, 18, 19, and then claw back into those games. Okay, that's why I say, like, maybe hopefully there's a promising future. I don't know know that it's going to be this year, but hopefully there's a promising future ahead because this team doesn't give up. We keep seeing them fighting, and they get back into games. They get back, from like 20 down all the time, and then they get within single digits. But they just can't put the full game together. They need to be able to put an entire 40 minutes together and play good defense a whole game. Because we could see them go on a streak offensively and do really good in there, but they got to play a complete game for an entire game. You just can't. turn it on offensively in a quarter or two, and then hope that's going to be good enough. You got to play some better defense as well. All right, again, not looking so good for the Storm as of right now this year, but still fun to watch. Again, we're fans, so we're not going to miss the games. Well, I mean, we might miss some games here and there, but we're going to watch as much as we can. Okay, there's a lot of sports out there. We're watching as much as we can. All right, let's get to our next team. Sounders. All right, there you go. There's the Sounders. Okay, let's talk about how they ended their year last year, 2022. They won the CONCACAF Cup, but failed to make the MLS Cup playoffs. Before that, they were on a 13-year streak of making the playoffs. So hopefully this year they're getting back into that. Let's go ahead and look at where we are with the standings for the Sounders right now. Okay, we are 8 wins, 4 draws, 6 losses. That gets us 28 points. That's second place in the Western Conference. Right now, St. Louis is ahead of us with 29 points. So that should tell you we're on the we're on the right track right now. Okay, let's get in there. We got to make these playoffs. We got the 1 year break there. We want to get right back into it. We were at one point first in the standings, so this is we're staying close towards the top. As long as we can keep getting some points out of this, we need to get those draws, we need to get those wins, so we can keep getting points and stay towards the top of the division. Let's see here. Recently, Jordan Morris was injured, hurt his groin on a play that he actually scored on, and then had to leave the game. So we're going to see how that affects the team going forward. Other than that, like I said, soccer's not my strongest, but we will make sure we bring you the news every week. Right now, that's where they stand. We're doing good this year. Let's get in there. Let's get into these playoffs, okay? Again, this show is motivating me already this year, before I even recorded this first episode here, to be able to watch some of the Sounders games. So I'm going to be excited to pay even more attention to the Sounders than before, and hopefully watch them make the playoffs this year. All right, let's get to another soccer team. Let's get to our Reign. Okay, and again for Reign, let's start talking how they were last year. Last year, record was 11-7-4 with 40 points, finishing first and winning the NWSL Shield. Awesome, right? We lost to Kansas City 2-0 in the NWSL semifinals right now. Right now, our record sits this year at 11-6-1. Okay, so that puts us at 19 points. First place right now in the division has 20. So we're right there. We're right there. We just had a tough game against the Portland Thorns. We ended up losing that one. Can be affording mini losses here as we get towards the end here. Okay, just a couple more months left. So hopefully they're going to be picking up some wins, some more draws, getting those points, and making sure that again, we want to see this team get into the playoffs and hopefully win another Shield, right? That would be great to see. And it was really fun to see Megan Rapinoe with Sue Bird there at the number retirement. So, uh, you know, this is another team I feel like I'm going to have fun getting more into with the creation of this show. That's my knowledge on the Rain right now is basically their standings. Uh, so let's move on to the next team, our Dragons. All right, here we go. The Seattle Sea Dragons. Now, let me tell you what. I am a big fan of the XFL. Okay, so actually, the last iteration, not the version that The Rock owns right now. So before the pandemic, we know that the XFL had come back, and it was really fun to watch. In fact, it was so much fun, um, and I was so excited at the announcement of it that I did a podcast for that, for the love of the XFL, and I was covering the XFL, and I was covering every game. I was doing team by team news. I was covering every game that happened. I was DVRing all the games because of the way the rules are in the XFL, and because there's only 8 teams. I mean, it was super easy to be able to watch all of the games and then report on them by the middle of the week. Uh, I'm not doing that show anymore, so I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just going to be following the Dragons. But I got to say, the XFL is really fun. And I really love what. We had the version that happened and then ended up closing because of the pandemic, and now the version that The Rock owns. Basically, you know, way back, 20 something years ago now, when they tried to be competition to the NFL, that was a big mistake, was the mistake of trying to be competition to the NFL. Now, they're more in a partnership of, hey, like NFL, let's work together. In fact, and let us be like a league that is a developmental league where there's can be players that, are getting cut from teams or just not quite getting drafted and not quite making it, that can prove, this is like their prove it league, that they can make it to an NFL team. And this year we did see in general a lot of XFL players get invited to camps and now sign with teams as well. So I really like the idea that, this is a league that it's a professional league that's going to, instead of just say, hey, we're fighting against the big dog. This is like, no, we're working with them, and we're showing, and we're giving a chance to all the players who don't want to give up, and haven't given up on their dreams. Like, they're still working hard at it. It's not like, you finished college, you didn't quite make the NFL. Now you have to figure out, well, how do I stay in shape, and how do I train to make sure that I can still have a chance to get in the NFL if somebody gets injured and the team needs a player. How do I show that I'm worthy of being on team? Well, here we go. We got the XFL. Anyways, that's my thought on the XFL in general. Let's talk about our Siege Dragons specifically. 2023 season just finished. That's the other thing you got to love about the XFL. You love spring football. After the NFL is over, you still got some football to watch. We went 7-3. We lost in the playoffs to the DC Defenders 37-21. But man, this team was fun to watch this year. Ben DiNucci, we had Jakor Pearson, Josh Gordon, best passing offense in the XFL this year. Again, multiple players trying out and signing with NFL teams out of the Seattle Sea Dragons team, so they're good. This team was good. You know what? Nose tackle Austin Kalu, if that's how you say his name, just recently signed with the Seattle Seahawks. Jakor Pearson, he was the team's leading receiver. just got an invite to try out with the not the Seahawks, with the Seahawks. So you know the program is working. In fact, Pearson also tried out with the Broncos as well. So he could be, you know, maybe he signs here, maybe he ends up signing with the Broncos, but he could be with our old quarterback Russell Wilson over there, who's needs some help. Needs some help over there. He needs some players over there to help him get back to his old form, right? But yeah, I'm really excited to see how this works as well because obviously Ben DiNucci leading the leading passing offense in the league. Ben DiNucci, he's actually over there in Denver. He got signed to the Broncos, the Sea Dragons quarterback, right? Um, so there's a we don't know how the Sea Dragons are going to look next year, because again the XFL. That's what I really like about it. It's a bunch of players who are at the professional level. If you watch college NFL, you can see there's a huge gap. Now, if you watch college and XFL, there's a gap there as well. You could tell that these players are still the level of play is higher uh, than the college level. So it's real professional football being played out there, and then these guys are getting the call to go up to the NFL. Uh, I think that's going to be something that's really fun and interesting to watch, with how that affects the XFL teams themselves, because we know a lot of talents getting picked off from our Sea Dragons here. So how do they fill that in for next year, and how are they going to look next year? I think that's going to be really fun to see. Um, year on a year to year basis of like, oh hey, I'm really rooting for these guys because I want to see them make it to the NFL. And then you see a bunch of guys make it to the NFL, and then you go, okay, well, who are the new faces coming in? And then you get to learn about them and watch their journey and root for them to get into the NFL. So I think this is a really fun league, and the games are fun to watch. Like I said, the level of play has been good so far. Let's see what it's like in year two. And yeah, that brings us to the end of our show. Um, you know, this was a fun first episode to do, going through all of our teams here and just kind of talking about where we stand. I want to know where you stand as a fan. So, if you're watching on the YouTube version, write it in the comments. I'd love to hear about your Seattle sports fandom. Are you a fan of all the teams? Which teams are you a fan of specifically? How long have you been a fan? Um, are you somebody who wants to get into all the other teams that we have? That's kind of how I am. You know, um, just growing up, always a Mariners fan, always a Seahawks fan. The songs when they were here. But yeah, always a fan of those. And then, ever since I moved here, and then, just like seeing the storm, seeing, because I moved here, like I said, when I was real little, like from 1 to 4, I lived here in Washington, and then after that, went to Oregon and grew up in Oregon. Um, but then when I graduated high school, I moved here for college back here in 2007 is when I moved to Seattle. And then I was like, you know what? Man, we got other fun teams here that I don't pay that much attention to, that I want to pay more attention to now that I'm here. Again, being the Storm, Sounders, Rain. Now we have the Kraken, we have the Sea Dragons. Are you somebody who's like, yeah, I know the other teams are out there, I just don't have the time to pay attention to them, or I don't find the time to tune into their stuff? Hopefully, this show is going to help you do that. And yeah, again, let me know. Is that something that is that where you are in your fandom? All right. that is the show. Again, make sure you're leaving those comments. You can write into the show as well. SeattleSportsShow@gmail.com. Love to hear your feedback. And let's see. Make sure if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you hit the follow button. Or if you're listening on any other podcast platform, hit whatever button you need to hit to make sure that you're going to be getting all the new episodes into your feed automatically so you don't miss anything. And again, I appreciate everybody who's already found the show. I'll be uploading these on YouTube as well. Not so many people watching or listening on the YouTube version yet, and that's just kind of been. I've always focused. Another thing about me, I was an audio engineer. That's what I went to school for, was audio engineering. So I've always been more focused on the audio stuff. So I always find my audience in the podcasting world. But if you want to head over to that YouTube as well, that would be great. But so many people have already found the podcast version, as I was saying. So thank you to everybody who's listening and supporting the show here just by listening. Yes. That's going to be the show. So thank you so much. Until next time, go Seattle.